Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Ultrafab KMP-34L kerf-mounted weather strip in a 34-foot length. Let's take a look at it. Well, first and foremost, this is a 34-foot length roll, is what it is. And this is a kerf-in style weather stripping. That's because it fits into a very small mortise or a groove, and that's typically called a kerf. Is going to, it can be different dimensions. I've had people call up and say their kerf is a 1/4 inch. That's too big for anything I've ever seen. Other people have said 3/16. That's also a bit large. Kerf dimensions are generally in the range of 1/8 of an inch. And a kerf is going to, and I'll just make a quick cross section of what a jamb would look like. A typical exterior wood frame, not to scale at all. That's the jamb. I'm going to put the door here. So you can get a, just an idea. That's how your door is going to swing. Well, that little doodad right there, that's the kerf. So when you insert that material in there, you get the concept of how that's going to work. Obviously, the door is going to make contact with this. That margin is just hand sketched. That's the kerf. There is a dimension down below that shows what this material measures, even though it doesn't really give you the dimensions that you need to actually manufacture anything. And typically, that's what I get calls from door suppliers, door pre-hanging shops. Hey, how big do I make my kerf? Yeah, okay, sure. Very common. I've asked that question myself countless times. This is a T-shaped kerf. Couple of rows, 2 rows of barbs that are on the bottom. When I put my caliper down there, you can see it says 0.030. That's certainly going to be the thickness of the vinyl. And when I put my caliper on it, it's 0.028. Just the brown vinyl itself is 0.028. When I bring those little barbs into the mix and try to decide what sort of kerf size I want, an 1/8 of an inch would certainly work. I would actually like something a little bit smaller, though, because my calipers really, when I set it to 0.125, it's obviously gripping onto the sides of the barb, but I might be tempted to make that closer to maybe 100 thousandths. Okay, so I know 1/8 of an inch works, and it will work. But I might be real tempted to try it first and go a little bit tighter than that. The overall width of the rigid backer that's there is 0.209. 0.209, just the width of the backer. Now the projection of the pile, including the rigid backer, because that's pretty much what you're dealing with. It's going to have a projection of about 0.35 inch. They're showing 0.3 inch. I don't believe they're going all the way to the back of where that's going to hit the face of the stop. So I'm thinking 0.35 would be good. How much room to leave? Well, let's just say, the first time you do this stuff, you do need to experiment, do a fit to make sure that it works. That's the first time I did a Q-Lon or a kerf-in style weather stripping, found the really perfect size, and moved on. I would be probably tempted to not compress this material very much because it doesn't need to be compressed, but you could sure compress that down 100 thousandths. So if you're going to be at 0.35, and that's it, I really... I might be tempted to say that 5/16 would be a good dimension from the face of the door when the door is in the 0 degree position to the face of the stop. 5/16. I wouldn't try to go all the way to a 1/4 inch. That's just going to be way too tight. Could probably force the door to close, but you're really compressing it. I would be about, 30 thousandths is where I would probably be on that. Now the depth of the T-barb, 0.197, 0.197. They don't give us that dimension, so about 20 thousandths of an inch is what we're dealing with in terms of depth. That's not so critical. I'd probably just make that a 1/4 inch. That's probably what I would do. That'll fit in quite nice. 100 thousandths wide, if you can be that technical, 1/4 inch deep, leaving a gap of about 5/16, no more, only slightly less would be appropriate, and I think he'd be in real good shape. They've got a width of 187, so 3/16 width on the pile, and obviously my caliper is just, we're approximating, right? But I would say no way. That's way wider than 187. I mean, right out of the box, it's flared out at the end. That dimension is going to be a 1/4 inch for sure. Black pile. That is a, I'm tempted to say that that's a brown backer that you would never see. You're not going to see hardly any of this. I mean, you're going to see, when you pull that back, you'll see that white detail there, but you're not really going to notice that. Kerf mounted. So if the gap becomes tight, it's a good product to use. What they're saying in the extended description, this product is good to contour itself over gaps that might be too big, too narrow, or range. Maybe you've got a warp in the door. Maybe you've got a bow or a warp in the door. Pile is good because it doesn't present a substantial amount of resistance. You can highly compress it if you are intent to do that. It will also stand proud really well and do so in a long-term fashion. So you can find, if you've got a piece of weather stripping that you're trying to make work and it's hard to get it to compress up in the one area where the door is warped back towards the frame real hard, or you've got a funny condition of how the hinges are mortised where it's not exactly plumb, pile can be compressed, and it can also stand proud to pick up that gap a little bit. So that's what they're driving at when they say that, and that is very true. In addition to that, I've been told by people in the bristle or pile manufacturing business that insects do not like to land on this, making pile very effective at keeping out not only the, I would say more so the insect population, along with the elements, the loss of heat, or the intrusion of the loss of air-conditioned air. And I think that's going to be bolstered by the fact that you're going to very commonly see pile in applications of sliding doors in southern climates where insect infiltration is a real measurable thing every single day. Obviously in the Southwest, same sort of scenario where you get even beyond insects and you get things much bigger. Check your boot before you put your foot in it size critters. So pile is good because it's pliable and will perform. It does fatigue and age with time, like all things do, but it's an excellent application for this stuff. There is a document down below called Measuring Instructions, which I may have seen in the past at some point, but they do define the terminology of weather stripping parts. Generally what happens when people buy this stuff, hey, how much of a kerf should I leave? Or, hey, I know it's going to work, send it to me, whatever the case is. So I provide the information based on my experience as well. Now there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page, and again, this is a 34-foot roll. What's 34 foot good for? Well, it's good if you've got 33 or less feet of requirement. But in all seriousness, you would do 2 3-foot by 7-foot doors with 34 feet. 7 plus 7 plus 3 is 17. Do another 17. So if you've got 3068, 3070, you're in good shape. 34 feet would certainly do that. I'm trying to figure out where they come up with 34 feet. 17 foot is very common in pile or self-adhesive gasketing for 3070 doors. So maybe that's where they're coming with that length. There's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Ultrafab products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website. They are, from what I understand, an OEM, an original equipment manufacturer, providing this material to people who manufacture doors, windows, etc. So a typical order for them from their core client base might be, I need the KMP 34L and I need, 49,000 lineal feet of it. That sort of scenario. Okay. We buy much smaller quantities on behalf of our clients. If you have any questions on the Ultrafab KMP-34L, a 34-foot roll of Kerf-in style pile weather strip, or any other Ultrafab product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.